All right, today we're diving into something a lot of us feel but maybe can't quite put a name to. It's this idea of an unspoken darkness, that invisible weight that can shape our homes, our relationships, and hey, even our whole culture.
I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head, right? Darkness doesn't always scream. We're so often trained to look for the big, explosive moments, the shouting, the obvious fights. But what if the real problem, the deepest dysfunction, is actually silent? It just settles into our habits, our family dynamics, the very energy of a room. It's woven right into the fabric of everyday life.
So the big question is, how does something silent become so heavy? How does it turn into this persistent atmosphere? Well, that's what we're going to unpack. We'll look at how this darkness shows up. And to really get it, we have to look at the two sides of the coin, the two sides of this dynamic. Okay, so check out this framing. This is super important. It lays out the two core roles that tend to form in these kinds of environments. You've got the abused, which is all about how that darkness gets inside you, how it starts to live in you. And then you have the abuser, which looks at how the darkness actually uses them, how it moves through them. It's a really key distinction. Let's start by looking at the first side. So if you're on the receiving end of this, that darkness forces you to develop these really intense survival skills, like silence as survival. It's not just being quiet, it's a calculated strategy, right? Because you've learned that speaking up equals danger. Then you've got self-shrinking, making yourself smaller, apologizing for everything, lowering your dreams just to not be a target. And this one is rough. The internalized abuser. That's when their critical voice literally gets inside your head and you start doing the damage to yourself. And frozen joy, man, that's that awful feeling where you just can't trust happiness. You're always waiting for something to go wrong, for the other shoe to drop.
Okay, now let's flip it and look at the other side. This is fascinating because it frames it less as a simple personality flaw and more like an inherited force, generational possession. That's this idea that unhealed trauma just gets passed down and it comes out as rage or narcissism. It becomes this unspoken routine where awful behavior is just normalized, maybe called discipline. And check this out, energetic parasites. It suggests that causing pain isn't just a side effect, it's almost like a food source, a way they try to manage their own inner chaos. And of course, the foundation for all of this is a total avoidance of accountability, always deflecting, always denying. Nothing can heal that way. So what happens when you have whole generations of people growing up like this? This stuff doesn't just stay behind closed doors. No way. It scales. That individual pain, that family dysfunction, it becomes the blueprint for our entire culture. And you know what? The signs are literally everywhere. Think about it. This obsession with overanalyzing our feelings instead of just feeling them. This relentless perfectionism that makes it impossible to just be present. We're so disconnected from our bodies, from nature, from spirit, and there's just no space for grief, is there? No room to be slow. You're just supposed to get over it and move on. Is it any wonder that burnout and just feeling numb have become completely normal? It's like a badge of honor to be exhausted. Okay, I know, this all sounds incredibly bleak, right? Super heavy. But hang on, because this is the pivot. This is the big turning point. Because the moment you can actually see the pattern, that's the moment you find the map to get out. The problem itself actually holds the key to the solution. The pattern is the prison, but it's also the key. See, the point here isn't to go around blaming everyone. The point is to understand the mechanics of the prison you're in. Once you know how the lock works, you can find the key. So, who has that key? It's you. It's the most sensitive person in the room, the one who's always felt everything just a little too deeply. And if that sounds like you, I really want you to hear this. That sensitivity that you've probably been told your whole life is a weakness, it's not. It's your superpower. It's a highly tuned alarm system, and it's perfectly designed to pick up on the silent static that everyone else has learned to tune out. And that alarm system, it gives you a job, a role to play. There are 3 core things you're here to do. First, name the silence. You're the one who can finally put words to that tension everyone feels but ignores. Second, hold what others won't. That means you have to be willing to feel the grief, the anger, all the messy stuff everyone else is running from. And third, and this is the big one, break what was called unbreakable. You do that by simply choosing not to pass the pattern on. So, okay, seeing the pattern is a huge first step. But healing, that's not a spectator sport. It's an action. So let's get practical. We're going to walk through a few really powerful reflection questions from the source material to help you start this work for yourself. All right, first one, just take a breath. In what ways have you felt or noticed this silent darkness shaping the atmosphere around you? Could be at home, could be at work, in your community. Think about those unspoken rules, the tension you could cut with a knife, the things nobody ever talks about. Where have you felt that? Okay, now let's bring it a little closer to home. Where in your own life have you used silence as a survival tool? You know, those times you bit your tongue just to keep the peace. And let's be clear, that's a valid strategy. It probably protected you. But what did it cost you? How did it limit you? This one goes deep. I want you to really listen to your own self-talk, that inner critic. Does that voice, does it really sound like you? Or does it sound like someone else? Does it beat you up with shame? That could be that internalized abuser we mentioned earlier. And just for a second, imagine what it would feel like to swap that voice out for one that's actually on your side, a voice of compassion. All right, last question, and this one is about moving forward, because healing isn't some giant dramatic event. It's about small, consistent choices. So what's one practice, one tiny thing you can do to shift a little piece of this? Maybe it's just speaking up about what you want for dinner. Maybe it's letting yourself feel sad for 5 minutes without judging yourself. What's one small, manageable step you can take?
And that brings us to the final takeaway, and it's maybe the most important one of all. Be the end of the pattern, even if you never get the apology. You might wait forever for someone else to acknowledge the pain they caused, but here's the secret. Your healing doesn't depend on them. Your power is right here, right now, in the choice to say, this stops with me. The pattern ends here.